What's up, everybody? Welcome to the best place to learn if Costa Rica is right for you. So if you're still trying to figure out if Costa Rica is the right place for you and you're still looking at different things like the beaches, the volcano, the vacation spots, then I want you to stick along and watch to the very end to learn how you can change this to get to the place of your dreams. So today we're going to be talking about how to live in Costa Rica as a U.S. citizen. So the most important thing that you can do is to be able to work on this. Because without that, everything else is superficial. Getting the documentation, worrying about where to live, those things really are kind of superficial if you don't have a good reason. So the first thing that I always talk to my clients about, and we're going to dig in a little bit today, and a little bit deeper than we usually do, is actually understanding your why. Now, what I hear most of the time is, why do you want to move to Costa Rica? Oh, because the climate's great, it's peaceful, I love the beaches. But if you really stop and think about it, unless you're a surfer and this is all you're gonna do, and you probably get paid doing that, then the beaches don't actually get you anywhere. The beauty and the beaches just don't stop there. That's not enough. Because if it was enough, then really the question is, oh, I love the beaches. Well, why not Florida? Why not parts of Texas? Why not California? Hey, let's go to Spain. Let's go to other parts of the world and go to the beaches. The beaches can't be the stopping point of where you decide to figure out, hey, Costa Rica is right for me. Because if it is, the second that it rains or something bad happens or things get too complicated, then all your mind's gonna think is, well, I'm only here for the beach and I can find beaches anywhere else. And you'll keep moving on a journey. Because even to move into Costa Rica, the fact that you gotta learn a different language, you gotta learn different cultures, you even have to learn to eat differently, especially if you wanna keep your costs down. And if you're just here for the beach, then that's not gonna keep you. So as I'm talking to people, especially in my one-on-one program, I make them dig deeper into figuring out, why Costa Rica. Now I usually ask, what are you running from? Because we generally have the answer. I'm running from the stress and the cold weather. There's things like that. That's cool, that's a start. But then it's like, well, where do you run into? And then a lot of times it just stops at the beach. Now, don't get me wrong, the beaches are beautiful, and I love to go to the beaches from time to time. But what I want you guys to realize that if you want to live successfully, especially if you're coming from the United States, where we really don't have the options unless you're living on the coast for beaches, and we have wintertime, of course, so even those beaches, especially in the northern part, are not that good because they're cold at that time. But to actually have an option to go somewhere where it's warm all the time, then Costa Rica kind of seems like it's the answer. 12 months of beaches, if you will. But really, if that's all you're doing this part of the journey, then you don't actually have a clear why. And what you'll find out is, without the clear why, you'll start to do things that are counterproductive. You'll start to do things that take away your peace. You'll start to do things that make you more stressed. You will start to rebuild things that were familiar to you from the United States, which is essentially putting you in a bubble. And in that bubble, the reality of living in a place and finding your purpose and finding out what you want to do actually doesn't quite exist there. Your bubble generally exists of things that make you comfortable and distracted. And so you don't begin to move forward. And one day, that bubble does pop. And so yes, as I was saying in my program, I do dig and start with this point because it is the fundamental thing for actually your journey to Costa Rica. Because your journey to Costa Rica starts way before you buy that first plane ticket. It really does start up here. There's a saying, no matter where you go, there you are. So if you are your biggest roadblock and you haven't dealt with those things either before you get here or planning to hash them out while you're here, then you're going to find Costa Rica and the beach. It's not your cup of tea. And so that's why I really press upon starting with your why. The next thing that I harp upon and I stress to people is to have a good budget. And you're not just going to recreate the same thing that you had in the United States. Think about it. When you were in the United States, what did they tell you to do? Go to school, get a good job, get married, have 2.5 kids, have a house and some cars. And so when you try to do that and emulate that, especially from the beginning, you'll find yourself in a disastrous situation. Because getting here and finding a house is not the first thing that you do. It is not plan A. Because you actually have to get acclimated to the culture, figure out where you want to live. If you just rebuild your budget and you say, hey, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to buy the best house, I'm going to deck it out the way that I used to, it's going to have 25 TVs, a pool, and you really quite can't afford that. And so you kind of house heavy, then you no longer have the money to actually explore and see Costa Rica and travel around because you're only thinking about your house. But if your why for moving to Costa Rica was to see the beauty and to get out, and yes, I'm going to throw back in the beaches, but see natures and monkeys, stuff like that, but you no longer have the budget to do that, because you were just budgeting things around your house and maybe your car, then you have now jeopardized your dream. And you're going to complain that Costa Rica was too expensive and it didn't fulfill your dreams and it wasn't for you. And again, I don't want to see you guys in that particular situation. So when you're doing your budget, you want to make it so that, hey, yes, I can afford a nice home base, which is a place where it allows you to get centralized to the things that you think you want to pursue and see, and you have money to be able to travel, eat out, try new foods and different things like that. Enjoy your life. And that is the starting place that you're going to be. So your perspective has now changed. And that is the biggest part that I think, financially even, as part of your why and moving to Costa Rica, your perspective has to change. Even the fact that you're like, oh, that house is cheap. Well, it's cheap compared to the United States, but it's probably expensive in Costa Rica, and it doesn't quite fit in your budget because now you need more room to travel. So you have to begin to change your perspective. And so with that, moving to Costa Rica is about adapting the culture and learning the language. Yes, be yourself. And I'm not telling you not to be yourself. But what I mean by adapting to the culture, one, I would highly recommend that you get accustomed to foods and even different types of clothing that are here. Because if you're moving or shipping everything because you know what that brand is, you know what that peanut butter tastes like from Jiffy, you're going to actually pay a higher price. If you're still eating like from the States and they don't have the dish or the pasta sauce that you like, well, maybe it's time to make an adjustment. Because you're going to, the more that you hold on to those type of things, I'm not saying that you can't have them, but the more that you hold on to those particular brands, those particular items, and not being able to adjust and eat the particular foods that they have in here in Costa Rica, things are going to get more expensive and potentially a lot harder to find. So you're going to be spending more gas or bus rides or however you get around. And part of that is learning language. You are not going to have to learn Spanish before you get here. Well, at least I didn't. Now, you will feel uncomfortable because there's going to be a lot of Spanish speakers around you. And I know in the United States when you hear Spanish speakers, normally they just turn around and speak English. Well, here, since the primary language is Spanish, you're the one that's going to have to adjust. And there will be adjustment periods that you need to give yourself grace and peace for. You're going to be around people that are actually friendly, but they're maybe talking about a football game like, hey, and it may be loud. You don't have to feel uncomfortable just because you don't know the language. That takes time, but it only takes time when you work on it. If you don't work on it, then you're back in that bubble and you're going to be isolated. Yes, you can find some English speakers and definitely you can find expats, but you're only going to be, most of the time, in a small bubble where things are, where people complain, oh, this is expensive, that's expensive. They said they gave me a gringo price. Now, I'm not going to say speaking Spanish won't get you a gringo price, but you're more likely to find the source where the locals go, and the conversation will change when you have more access to talk to different types of people and say, hey, I want to go here and I don't want to pay this much. You're going to have this. Now that takes time. And so what you want to do is avoid from living in a bubble. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and this is part of living in Costa Rica. But a part of living in Costa Rica is mostly about changing this and less, again, about just where you're going to vacation at. And so this is actually part of the journey, which I honestly found real exciting. It's getting to know different people and cultures. The more that I was able to learn Spanish, the more excitement that I had to be in Costa Rica, because I was able to form communities. Now, communities are amazing. And I'm a Christian, so I do recommend going to a church, because you get people who are generally going to be there every Sunday. So it's not like you go to a restaurant and you meet, you talk to your bartender or whatever. That's cool, but you're a paying client, so they're your friend because you pay. Now, yes, there's other relationships that can form, so that's not always true, but you get the idea. They're talking to you, because you're a paying customer. But spending extra time with them, well, they're still at the bar, not at the place that you want to go. So you're going to actually have to figure out another source. I do recommend church, because churches generally are very open, and you can say, hey, I don't speak Spanish that well. Can you have somebody translate? And then, hey, there's another friendship that can be made. And so you start getting invited out to all the different things that the church event has, and then that branches out from there. That would be my recommendation. Find a good church home. And yes, there are English-speaking churches, but I would, again, don't limit yourself. I would say, be able to listen and learn Spanish in a church environment, in a setting that's a little bit more constant and stable. And because you're walking in something that's a little bit more stable and familiar to you, even if the language is off, then you kind of feel a little bit more connected. And so you begin to walk in purpose. Now, walking in purpose is something that takes time. You don't come here and say, I've never been to Costa Rica, but my purpose is to come here and change everything and make it like that. No, that's not it. You're going to actually have to come here and get adapted. You're going to have to get acclimated. You're going to actually have to, again, find a community, learn the language, find out, hey, I had this skill, maybe it was a technical skill from the United States, and here's another technical person, and yes, they have it in other parts, but they don't have it in this particular city, and I can figure out how to help and help them grow. Or they can help me in the business that I'm trying to do, connecting the nations. I have a business in the United States, and it would be very beneficial for, whatever. And so you're going to actually try to figure out, walking in purpose over time. Just like the community takes time, you're going to be walking in your purpose over time. And that will actually kind of get you grounded. So now you got community that's like, okay, I got friends, I'm cool. Because that's honestly, that will keep you someplace more than the beach. Again, water all around the world. But to actually have a certain community and friendships, that actually keeps you in a place. But then to be walking in purpose, like, hey, no, I'm here for a reason. If I'm not here, then my purpose or my place is not actually serving me. It's not working. So you're actually going to start walking in purpose. Again, these things take time, but you're on a projectile to actually get to that place. You're not just arriving here with vacation thoughts. Oh, when I get to Costa Rica, I'm just going to go to the beach. I'm going to go to the volcanoes. I'm going to see the monkeys. Yes, you will do that. And I do talk about that in another video about having, a reset, or if you will, having a reset time. Yes, come here, reset, get away from the stress, slow down, kind of get your thoughts together, because maybe for so long, if you're anything like me, my thoughts weren't actually my thoughts. They were the thoughts that, were put on by my job. You need to be doing this, you have to go do that, and this is the time, and that became my everything. But when I was able to sit down, settle down, and kind of reset, then I was able to kind of figure out, okay, no, I remember I used to like doing this before I was working like crazy, or before the stress, or before everybody said you had to have this car and that house. I was able to find the things that I like. And so I'm hoping the same journey happens for you, that you figure out what you truly want here in Costa Rica. So if you want to know more about moving and living in Costa Rica, I want you to check out these videos, and I will see you on the other side.